What is going on, everyone? How are you doing? I hope you're doing good, because it is good to feel good. And first of all, I would like to wish everyone Happy New Year. Hope you all had a lovely Christmas and celebrating the New Year in good style. So of course, welcome to 2022. Second of all, this video is going up a bit later than I would anticipate, mainly because I would usually do my end of year review videos, like, you know, at the very end of the year, but for a change of pace I'm loading it at the start of the new year this time, and that's because of my circumstances. And those circumstances are, I ended off the year on a positive note, and ironically it was the one positive I didn't want this year, and unfortunately I tested positive for COVID, and yeah, it sucks. But ultimately, I'm doing quite alright at the moment. I'm in day 5 of isolation. I feel a lot better than I did a few days ago. I still feel a bit in places, but ultimately I have the energy to record a video, so that's exactly what I'm going to do, and we've talked about it a bit. But hey ho, let's go into this year that was 2021, and let's just talk about how I felt throughout this year and what I got up to and all sorts. Ultimately, my overall take of 2021 was that it was better than I anticipated. Obviously there's a lot of stuff that I enjoyed in this year, but then at the same time there are some stuff that I didn't enjoy this year, which we will get into as we gradually go on through this video. But I'd say starting off 2021, I felt quite pessimistic, and that's a massive contrast to me feeling quite optimistic. And that's because, you know, going into 2021, we started off the year with Lockdown 3 Tokyo Drift. Yes, I did just call it that, because if you think about it, this is our 3rd lockdown that we went into at the start of the year, and of course the one that started in March 2020 was just lockdown. Then the one that was in November of 2020 was 2 Lock 2 Down, and then the one that we entered into January this year was Lockdown 3 Tokyo Drift. So if you know your Fast and Furious films, then you know, good stuff and good banter. And no, don't get me started on that family meme, because that's one thing coming out of 2021 that I just want to forget. You know, I've had a tough year, but Ollie, have you had family? I don't know, that meme just needs to stay in 2021 for all I know. But yeah, as we went through that 3rd lockdown, I think one thing that really kept me occupied during that period was just working. You know, I was able to work my way through it, and like that also kind of leads me into February as well, and then March as well. If I'm being quite honest, the first quarter of this year, January, February, March, was quite uneventful for me, if I'm being quite honest. So that's just how it was. Although saying that, during March I celebrated my 10-year anniversary on YouTube, which was quite nice, and it's crazy to think that, you know, as this year has progressed, I've slowly but surely been uploading videos again. I think that's quite nice to think about, because I think just in 2020 I would say I lost my mojo for making videos, because I think just of everything going on and all the kind of like doom and gloom of the times, I just didn't feel the need to want to make videos at the time. So obviously I was more work focused, but just had no time for wanting to make videos. So I think it's been nice that slowly but surely throughout 2021 I've been able to, you know, get myself back into making videos here and there, and that's been that's been lovely. So it's just been nice, you know, getting, you know, bits filmed and, you know, editing them, uploading them again. And as I say, you know, it was nice to celebrate my 10-year anniversary, and it's interesting to think what I might be doing on YouTube in a few years' time. I don't know if I'll still be making videos, but it's all kind of wait and see, really. Also in March, I handed in my notice at work, and I worked that period all the way until I finished up in April. And then in April was when me and my family moved up to Gisborough here in North Yorkshire. And I gotta say, it's crazy to think how quickly this time has gone since we moved, because I thought to myself, it's gonna take us a little bit of time to, you know, get ourselves used to being here, but look where we are now. We're 8 months since we moved here, and where has that time gone, for goodness sake? But ultimately, it's nice being where we are, because we're around, like, you know, a few places that we've been to before, and also around certain friends and family, which is quite nice. It does feel a bit sad not being like in and around Leighton Buzzard anymore, because, you know, I lived there pretty much all my life, and just suddenly being to a brand new place, you know, that's completely out of like the ordinary for me is just a bit weird. But ultimately I would say it's been a positive move. It's been nice getting to know this place, and in turn getting to, you know, knuckle down and working again, because that's where it leads me to June. I'm mixing up my months, but obviously fast forwarding to a bit to June, that was nice to get back into a working routine, and honestly, I didn't anticipate that I'd be going back for working where I was, but just how it happens, that's life for you. But ultimately that, you know, being there these last 6 months has come with its ups and downs as well, but ultimately, you know, things are going pretty well at the moment, so that's nice. Backtracking to May, it was kind of like, you know, our getting to know Gisborough month, but then at the same time I really enjoyed the end of May when I went down to London and my friend Becca had her 25th birthday. Me and a bunch of us all like came together, and you know, we had a nice quiet night in on the Saturday night of her birthday. We watched Eurovision, big up Maneskin for winning, and then the day after was when we went on that massive Simmons bar crawl, which I think, honestly, I still don't know how I'm processing that night, but that night was so much fun, and like, I didn't think I'd have it in me to be drinking cocktails, because that's just now become the norm for me. Whenever I go out on like nights out or whatever, you know, screw drinking beer, it's all about drinking cocktails for me now, and that's quite nice. And then in turn, you know, we've done a few bits since then, I'll mention them in a second. Although saying that, obviously the month after was when we went to do, like, you know, we did a bar crawl in London, then we did stuff like, you know, in a few places we went for a bottomless brunch in Milton Keynes, which we did not survive. We then went up to Sheffield, which was Ethan's neck of the woods, where again, we didn't know what we were doing. Like, well, we did know what we were doing, but we kind of paced ourselves up there, which was quite nice. But ultimately, it was just nice to be around my friends again. In fact, it was that week when all lockdown restrictions were supposed to end. Obviously, that got delayed by about 4 weeks, but still, it was nice to be with friends during that period. What happened in July? Oh yeah, July! The bloody Euros happened, and football was almost coming home, but it didn't. But it was quite nice to actually experience England playing in a tournament final for like the first time since 1966, and I think that's one thing I can happily say, that I was alive to see England play in a major tournament final. I mean, they could go all the way, I mean, this is me being really ambitious, but they could just go all the way in Qatar next year, but we'll just have to wait and see about that. Although I say next year, it is 2022 now, so this year in Qatar could be a possibility. It could be coming home in Qatar, but we'll just have to wait and see. August, from what I remember, not much really happened. Oh, that's one thing that I will mention, that I will also talk about in a little moment, but in August I was able to see my nana. In fact, going back to us moving up north to Gisborough, one of the benefits of us moving up here was that my nana was, you know, not that far away in South Shields, which is about an hour from Gisborough, so it was quite nice to see her a few times it was, and especially getting the chance to see her on her birthday as well. That was a lovely little moment. One thing that I really enjoyed about that day was not just being there myself, but also being with friends and family, in turn my extended family, so that was a lovely day. That was spending time with my nana. And then what happened in September? Oh yes, Coral's birthday. That was another fun night of who did what and all sorts, but it got off to a bum note for me, because that was of course the night I lost my rucksack in London, because go figure, Ollie's tired, he's not thinking straight, but that just happened. But I was fortunate that I had my rucksack returned to me, and especially with everything that was inside it. I had my laptop, I had a portable charger, I had COVID tests, all sorts in there, so I don't know how that all stayed intact, and especially before I went on my little travels. But yeah, that night with Coral, and who else was there that night? So Coral was there, Becca was there, Ethan was there, Kieran was there as well. Kieran, who I'd not seen for nearly 2 years to that point. And then, you know, a whole bunch of our friends, or bunch of Coral's friends, and, you know, our kind of collective friends were all there, and again, fun stuff. What was really nice at the end of the month was getting to go to Croatia. That was a fun old time, and in fact, it was so satisfying to get out and travelling again, and that was my first time in nearly 2 years since the start of the pandemic that I was able to get out and travel. So that was lovely. And also spending my time there with my friend Daisy, who is an old friend of mine, who I'd spent some time with earlier that month, but ultimately it was the first time that we were properly hanging out with each other since, in a few good years. I can't remember exactly when was the last time we hung out, but it was a few years to that point. But it was nice to spend some time together, and we got up to all sorts in Croatia. Especially like, what did we do? We went to zip wiring, we did Krka National Park, we went on a night out that got a bit messy in places. We did, what else did we do? Island hopping, so we went to all sorts of places. We saw the Blue Caves, we went to Hvar, all sorts. That was lovely. But I think one of the biggest things that, like, you know, impacted my time out in Croatia was receiving the news about my nana, and, you know, her passing away. Like, I was about to say suddenly passing away, but I kind of knew that, you know, her time was short, and that period, especially leading up into October, was a difficult month for me, as I've mentioned already. And, you know, mourning isn't easy, but that month, you know, that month was hard in places for me. But I've mentioned it a few times, but one of the nicest things about this period was having, you know, so much kind words from my friends, all sorts of reassurance from my friends, and they've really helped me get through this period. And especially, I know I've mentioned it already, but after her funeral, I feel a lot more accepting of her passing away. But ultimately, it hasn't been easy. Like, and especially going by this Christmas as well, like, it hasn't been easy. Like, you know, one of the lasting memories that I always have of my nana is, like, it's not every year that she would be with us, but every year she'd get to be with us at Christmas time was lovely. And, like, even in years past when we would go up to hers, and when my late granddad was still alive as well, and, you know, getting some nice time with them, and, like, Christmas with them was always lovely. But yeah, these last few months haven't been easy in places for me, mourning her passing, but ultimately I feel a lot more accepting, you know, that she's passed on, you know, she's in a better place and all sorts. But I tell you what, that first month wasn't easy for me after she passed away. But as I say, I had people to help me through it, so ultimately that's a lovely takeaway from that people helped me through that period. And then on to a lighter note, on to November. Now, November was a fun month for me because, of course, I had my birthday in that month. I turned 25, a quarter of a century and halfway towards 50. Bloody hell, I sound morbid when I say that, but that was a fun old time, my birthday, and especially going down to London yet again and being with my friends. Although saying that, I'm still surprised how that nearly didn't happen with that train cancellations that day and the quick turnaround that I had to do to get to London. I still don't know how I did it. I still don't know how I managed that at Manchester Piccadilly. Literally getting off the train at one platform and then rushing all the way to another, and just seconds before the doors closed. I don't know how I did that, but I did. But ultimately, it was so nice to be with friends again that night, and, you know, just having a fun night, having some me time, and having a great time with my friends is what I thrive for. And that was ultimately such a fun night. And then after my birthday, of course, I went on a cheeky little trip away to Norway, which was fun as well. I loved that trip. In fact, again, one of the things I've liked about this year is just being able to do bits and bobs of travelling again. That's where I'm going to lead myself into the next year shortly. But that was a lovely trip, and I think, like, you know, getting to see bits of Oslo for the one day that I was there, getting to see Tromsø, seeing the winter wilderness, seeing all sorts, and I think ending off the trip seeing the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, was so beautiful and satisfying. Like, you know, because that's one thing you've always got to take into consideration. It's not always a guarantee that you're going to see the Northern Lights whenever you go on, like, one of these little, you know, explorations or whatever, but we got lucky that night, and while it wasn't visible to us through the naked eye, the pictures that we got were absolutely lovely, and I really enjoyed ending off the trip to Norway like that. And then going into December has been quite a busy month for me, especially in the lead up to Christmas. But there's one thing that I'm really thankful that came out of December, and that is the fact that I have ended up in a relationship. Who would have guessed? I was originally going to keep it quiet and be ambiguous about it if I was going to upload this before the new year, but because it's the new year and I've already let the world know, yeah, I'm in a relationship, which is quite nice, and we're quite happy together. We've got, I think what's been quite nice is, like, she started chatting to me. She's got a name. Her name's Chloe. So Chloe started chatting to me first, which was quite nice. She broke the ice with me on Tinder. We matched on Tinder. That's modern romance for you people. So she made the first move on me, and then we just started chatting from there, and then as time's gone on, we've gotten to know each other quite a lot, and we're just both really happy to be with each other. So fingers crossed all works out for the both of us, and I'm really looking forward to spending some time with her and all sorts. And like, this is crazy to think, I've never done relationships before. Like, it's never been my thing. I think mainly because I remember when I was younger, when I was about 17, there was somebody that I really liked, and bearing in mind this is when I was at school, so different sort of environment, but there was someone I liked, but ultimately they didn't reciprocate, so that had a bit of a knock on my confidence, and so I kind of waited around until the timing was right, and sure enough, yeah, I got in a relationship. I got a girlfriend, guys. Why am I being so boastful about it? I don't know. I'm happy. She's happy. Stop referring to her as a she. Who's she? The cat's mother? Chloe is happy to be with me, so love you, Chloe. And I'm looking forward to us doing all sorts in 2022. Yeah, ultimately, 2021, as I say, had its ups and downs for me. I went for a few challenges for myself, and as I mentioned in my mental health video a few months ago, you know, I had my challenges that, you know, I overcame. I feel like a lot better person for what I went through, and as I say, I had, you know, my friends giving me advice and all sorts, reassurance, you know, where it was needed, and that's really helped me throughout this year. But then ultimately, I have enjoyed this year for the most part. There have been bits and bobs, obviously, that I haven't enjoyed, but ultimately, 2021 was a good one for me, so I'm happy with that. And now that leads me on to 2022, and what have I got in store for 2022? Well, as I say, me and Chloe are together, so I can imagine we'll be doing all sorts of, like, little escapades and adventures for ourselves. Travel-wise, I have actually got stuff planned. And again, I was going to keep it ambiguous about what I was going to do if I were to upload this before the new year, but it is a new year now, so I feel like, you know, I can talk about it. So first of all, travel-wise, I am going to Mexico in March, which is nice, and by the time I go there, it will be my 19th country that I've travelled to. Ooh, 19's my lucky number, of course, and I look forward to doing all sorts of travelling as time goes on. And in turn, I've got another trip booked in May in which I'm going with my family to Montenegro, which is very nice as well. Like, I think what's quite nice to think about is we had a family holiday booked to France in June of 2020 that obviously never materialised because of the pandemic. And, you know, as time went on, we've thought it would be nice to, you know, save a bit and then eventually book up something, and of course we've booked up to go to Montenegro as a family in May, so I look forward to that. Otherwise, what else am I getting up to this year? I'm seeing Alan Partridge in May. Aha! I'm going to a few concerts, so I'm going to see Imagine Dragons again. Don't judge me, I like their music. I'm going to see them in Milton Keynes, which is going to feel very weird going back there because, you know, when I used to live in Leighton Buzzard, it was just round the corner, but of course, you know, heading down to Milton Keynes to see Imagine Dragons, and that is their only UK date, but all the more reason I look forward to seeing them. In August, I'm going to see Coldplay with my mum, because, again, a lot of people judge people for liking Coldplay. I like Coldplay. I think their music is bloody amazing, and I've always said to myself I'd love to go see them live, and I've always said that to my mum, we should go see them live together, and sure enough, we are going to see Coldplay live together, and I very much look forward to doing that with her. It's going to be a fun one, but ultimately I'm looking forward to 2022 for what it kind of gives us. I mean, I know that obviously the pandemic's still going on, but fingers crossed, you know, we still do our bit to get ourselves through it. I'm hoping we don't end up in another lockdown, because that would be disastrous and all sorts, but you know, as long as we're all doing our part, like for example, I'm fully vaccinated and I've recently had my booster as well, so I'm doing quite alright, and as I say, I did test positive just before the new year, but I'm doing quite alright. I'm nearly out of isolation, but we're getting there. But ultimately, I'm looking forward to 2022 and seeing what it throws at us. Hopefully we don't have all sorts of craziness go through this year again, but we'll just have to wait and see. But ultimately, I've enjoyed 2021 and I'm optimistic for what 2022 brings us, so that's where I'll sign off here. And as always, I will leave you with some advice, and that is always to enjoy yourself, stay safe, and make the most of every opportunity that comes your way. Thank you for watching, and peace.